Na wala akong prepared message for this morning. Thank you, Arvin. Nakita mo, MC pa lang, malamig na ng boses. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank the AOC, which is our partner in this endeavor. Thank you for the consistent support. I'd like to thank Dante Basanta, MIA Terminal Manager, for hosting our event this morning. Mr. Alan Nepomuceno of the AOC, Andrew Yu, Vice Chairman, Lisa Castro, Secretary, Lisa. Okay. And sabi nga ni Arvin, si Norberta Robles. Okay, we'd like to thank the MIA for giving us this very beautiful hall for today's event. And then, of course, the AOC for the support. They have been a partner of the Sabian government in promoting the aviation industry, which is a prime engine of our economic development. As our economy grows, the aviation market grows, and so also the problems. No? The world has been swept by a tide of liberalization in the past decades. And with liberalization and the regulation all over the world it made possible unprecedented traffic growth, not only in the Philippines but globally. And in fact, from the period, if I'm not mistaken, 2007 to 2017, global traffic grew by almost half, maybe from 2.7 million, tama ba ba, to more than 4 billion. More than 4 billion passengers last year. And the Philippines is one of the fastest growing aviation markets in the world. In 2007, we more than doubled in 10 years from 2007, from maybe 21.9 million to about 49 million in 2017. And the Philippines is not only a medium-sized aviation market, but in the top 20 of the biggest aviation markets in the world. So we have come a long way thanks to the airlines, the primary engine of growth. Kaya lang, in the advent of the regulation, there is the regulation in fares, there is the regulation in the entry into the market, coupled, or these two factors have ushered in tremendous traffic growth. And with the advent of what we call the revenue management system, I'm sure all of you are aware of the revenue management system, which is very instrumental in the growth of traffic, and coupled with the emergence of the low-cost carrier business model as the primary engine of growth in the aviation industry. Traffic has simply exploded. Traffic or air travel has become democratized, as I always say, in the Philippines. In my time, going to Hong Kong is a privilege. It's for the elite. When we go to Hong Kong, we wear our coats, we feel that we have arrived. Pero ngayon, air travel is for even our mates. They go to Cebu, to their home provinces, they travel by air. The students, teachers, everybody can now post in the good places abroad and post them in Facebook. So it's very good for the Filipino. When you travel, you enrich your culture, you observe how cultures are. It's very enriching for the Filipinos, so we're very happy for that kind of development. But with the explosion in air travel, of course, the more travelers, the more complaints. No? It follows that there would be more complaints when there are more passengers. And with the advent of, as I said, with the advent of the revenue management system, I do not need to explain it, you know it, and the LCC model, there is now a vast diversification in the market and a wide range of products, no, that is based, differentiated, we call it price differentiation, price discrimination, based on restrictions, based on conditions. So a lot of ramifications, no? A lot of very complex na yung air travel, unbundled rates. Of course, it's good and bad. No? It's good for the market, but it's very difficult for people. But the beauty of that is that the airlines are able to expand their market base. No? Like for example, with the current price, what's this, unbundling of fares, if you are poor, but you can buy a seat, you cannot buy water, you cannot buy food, you cannot afford to pay for extra for luggage, so you just bring a carry-on, you can still travel. So in so doing, the airline is able to expand its market base and reduce unit cost. By reducing unit cost, you lower the airfare and you make travel available to more and more Filipinos. So we'd like to congratulate the airlines for that feat, no, of growing the market. But as I said, it carries with it certain concerns. No? So, you know, in every undertaking, in every endeavor, I think the key is a balance. No? With the regulation, with deregulation and liberalization, airlines are free to, you know, come up with their innovative ideas to spur the market. But, you know, the government also needs to temper, you know. And that's why the government needed to come up with certain guidelines in the area of passenger protection. And I do not know if we should be proud of it. I think we should be proud of it. We are at the forefront of consumer protection in the world. We issued what we call the JAO, Joint Administrative Order for Air Passenger Protection, called the Air Passenger Bill of Rights, which is the subject of this briefing today. And it is also called what we call the Executive Economic Regulation number 9 of the CAP. No. So we are proud of this accomplishment. Do you know that the Air Passenger Bill of Rights is being emulated by other countries? We are among the first to embark on this endeavor. No? If you look at the ASEAN consumer protection clauses, they are almost entirely lifted from our regulations. No? So our regulations are being emulated abroad. So actually, we Filipinos, we tend to always think that the Philippines is always behind. No? We are left out in all the modern developments. But in reality, that is a fact. No? We used to be second only to Japan. We were the front runner in a lot of things many decades ago. In fact, in the field of aviation, we were the first in Asia. We were ahead of everybody. People from Singapore, Japan, they trained in our aviation schools. They trained as pilots in the Philippines. We were the first to have those aviation academies. We were the first country in Asia to have an airline. PAL, Philippine Airlines, is the first airline in Asia. PAL is the first to fly across the Atlantic, or across the Pacific pala, to mount long-haul flights, island hopping. We have a lot of firsts. In fact, sabi ko nga, yung first hijacker, tayo din eh, yung Filipino pa rin ang first hijacker. No? So, that's another first for us. Natandaan ko yung hinijack yung PAL flight going to China by one of the activists. No? So, the need we know that the airlines, in the observance of their corporate social responsibilities, have taken upon themselves to protect consumers. But of course, the government is breathing down the necks of the airlines so that we can oversee and protect passengers. In the course of this day, we will present to you, we will brief you with the rudiments of the Air Passenger Bill of Rights. It's part of our program to disseminate this information to the public. We have been conducting briefings in the schools, in the different airports, with even the media, and now with the airlines. So probably this is one of the biggest crowds that we ever had in this regard. So what is the Air Passenger Bill of Rights? I think that there are three pillars of the Passenger Bill of Rights. The first would be the right of the passenger to have to obtain or be given proper, timely information about the status of flights, number one, and also the about the conditions. Yan ang napaka-importante, about the conditions and restrictions attached to the fares purchased. But I think it's also important to emphasize the fact that we have diversified the market, we have differentiated the fares. The passenger should be given or should get the service that is contracted for. I think I should emphasize that. Ang ibig sabihin nun, if you bought the seat, you cannot afford to buy the food. You cannot afford to carry or to bring in check-in luggage. Of course, you cannot complain later on that, the airline did not even give me food. Because that's the service that you contracted for. So the passenger is entitled to the service that he paid for. That should be clear. So, number one, proper information as to the restrictions, conditions, revocability, refundability. Number two would be in the area of proper the value, yun nga yung sinabi kong contracted service. The right of the passenger to get the value, the full value of the ticket purchase. So, ang importansya nitong right na ito is, in the advent of the LCCs, there is now a proliferation of yung non-revocable and non-refundable fares. Kasi in the old days, you pay a very high amount for your fares, all in, walang restrictions, normal fares kung tawagin, walang masyadong conditions, konti lang. But with the advent of non-revocable fares, there arose an issue about the passenger getting the full value of his ticket purchase. And the issue here is yung being checked in. Kasi the right to get the value, the full value of the ticket purchase comes with the right to be checked in. For example, you bought a ticket that is non-refundable, non-revocable. The reality is the airline doesn't have any compelling reason anymore to board you because your ticket is non-revocable. So if you're late, so the issue arises as to whether you're late or not. So what we notice is that whereas an airline would really exert effort to call on all passengers who are late for boarding, they will sweep the lines. We're calling for all passengers for this flight because it's going to already close. Because when the plane flies with an empty seat, that seat is gone because a seat is a perishable commodity. No? But if you pay a regular fare, you still retain a seat. You pay maybe a small amount of penalty, but you get another seat. No? But if you buy a non-refundable revocable seat, your seat is gone. So the issue that arose is that airlines, instead of exerting efforts to board the passengers, ang napansin namin, nagtatalo sa oras, sabi, hindi, hanggang dito na lang kami. You are late. You cannot be boarded, so you lose your ticket. Hindi, kanina pa kami nakapila dito eh. So mag-aaway. No? So doon nagkaroon ng issue na kailangan, if the passenger has been in line or in a certain cordoned area within a certain period of time before the flight, then the airline has to check them in. No? So these are the areas that will be discussed later on in the presentations. So another pillar of their passenger bill of rights will be in the area of compensation. No? Yung mga delayed flights, provision of nourishment, ano pa ba, yung mga compensation for cancelled flights, which is attributable to the carrier. No? So this will be detailed to you. And it's very important that our airline people would be well versed with the ramifications of their passenger bill of rights so that we can better implement and deal with our stakeholders who are encountering problems with us. No? So I am sure that in the observance of the corporate social responsibility, airlines would continue to look into the welfare of the passengers because, a canceled flight, delayed flight, whether it is attributable to the airline or not, is a service failure. No? And emotions run high. You look, when I look at the YouTube, in other countries, they really fight it out in the counters. This can trigger raids among a lot of passengers. No? So this is very important for us to be well versed. So I hope this day would be very fruitful for us. And thank you again for supporting this program. Good morning to everyone.
Thank you.